Through these lines I write, I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you very, very much for letting us little kids live here. It really, really was nice of you. You didn't have to do it. And it's really not freaky to have little kids mindlessly recite this anthem every day and pledge their life to a government before they're old enough to really think about what they're saying. This is not a form of brainwashing. This is not a form of brainwashing. This is not a form of brainwashing. This is really the greatest country in the whole world. All the other countries suck. And if this country ever goes to war, as it often wants to do, I promise to help go and kill all the other countries' kids. God bless Johnson and Johnson. God bless GE. God bless Citigroup. Amen.
Very good, kids. Now come and get your Ritalin.
How's that for an introduction? I guess I didn't know how to start the show off today, so I figured that was what better way. I mean, with the discussion going on right now being so just ridiculous. Okay, now the audio won't stop. Okay, there you go. With the discussion just being so ridiculous, it's like we need to answer it back with ridiculousness at some times. I guess you could say, this whole national anthem conversation continues, and people are still feeling extremely patriotic, I guess, about it. And it's just, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. It really blows my mind how this whole thing once again has been turned into a personality battle, and the entire conversation has been hijacked more or less by Trump and the media and all the other do-gooders out there. I mean, now there's a bunch of politicians kneeling down, acting like they're doing something. It's like, dude, you guys need to just shut up. Let these dudes in the NFL do their thing. We don't need a bunch of copycats. The New York City Council over there kneeling and shit. It's like, dude, you guys don't get it. Like, what are you doing? Stop. The owners of the NFL teams kneeling down and shit. No, please stop. Just don't. I think everyone missed the whole point of it. And so anyway, I mean, it goes on. And I was just going to make a comment earlier that, Kaepernick has actually caused quite a conversation. And I think the argument could be made that he has been one of the more influential conversation starters this year. I guess one could argue that he's accomplished more than many people have this year as far as, spreading a message. Now, it's important to not let the message, again, don't let it get hijacked. The whole point of this protest is to draw attention to police brutality. I think we're being joined by the awesome journalist, anti-media journalist Jake Anderson now. What's up, dude?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Yeah, I think you're right. I've been listening to a lot of sports radio about it, and there's one guy. I don't always agree with him, but Marcellus Wiley. He used to play football, and that's what he keeps talking about, is how the message is being hijacked. And, well, actually, with him, it's more of a, how is this going to translate into action? And then, other people, they agree that the message has been hijacked because not only is it now about patriotism, before that, it was about, whether the owners give proper respect to the players, or whether this is a free speech issue. Do players have the right to assert their free speech during employment hours? And really, the original message was very simple. Colin Kaepernick said this is about police brutality and, inequality for racial minorities. And the fact that people have such a problem with this statement being made says everything you need to know. People are saying our lives matter, and people are responding, but what? There's no but to that. These people are asserting that their lives matter. And if this were a white problem, you bet your ass there would be a much more ferocious conversation going on, and people wouldn't be getting silenced the way they are. But it's a complex issue. But at the heart of it, man, it's people want accountability from the police. They want to reform the system, and anyone who doesn't have their head up their ass knows that our police system needs reform badly right now.
Yeah, dude, at least 1,000 people a year getting gunned down. Kids are getting killed by the cops. Tamir Rice, he was only like 12 years old, playing with a toy gun in a park, got killed within seconds of the cops showing up. There was a little kid, I think it was down in I want to say Louisiana or something. A little kid that was autistic got killed. I think the kid was only 6 because they were shooting at the kid's dad in the car. It's a huge issue. So for people to act like, oh no, this is not a big issue, you're not being oppressed personally, you need to just stand up and just shut the hell up. So dumb. It's really such a dumb argument because
these cops are scared of black people. That's their best excuse. That their best excuse is that they're inordinately scared when they approach a black person. Now that's racism. This goes straight. Yeah.
It's the truth of it is that they're being trained by the military-industrial complex by Israel directly, and that's the elephant in the room no one wants to talk about because it puts billions in defense contracts in jeopardy. But the Israeli military has no right, and we do not need them to train police departments in the U.S.
Yeah, and an article, more articles are recently coming out. We covered it, I think, just last week on the anti-media about how these how these cops are being trained by the Israeli government and Israeli cops and stuff. that's not exactly a shining example of, human rights to look to. When we look at Israel, what do we know them for mostly? The government of Israel. I mean, we know them for being really bad to the Palestinians. So it's not like it's not like we sent them off to Sweden to find out why the cops in Sweden don't kill anybody every year. No, that's not what's happening. We're sending them off to Israel, where the cops are known to be killing like teenagers and shit all the time for throwing rocks at them and stuff. Like, so it's like a step in the wrong direction. It's really, really bad idea. But yeah, dude, it's going on. It's happening. It's documented. And so, this whole thing is just become so ridiculous. And everybody that's like, oh, well, don't disrespect the troops. They fought for your freedom. It's like, yeah, if you're saying they fought for freedom, then why are you criticizing this dude for his free speech? And fine, if you disagree with him, you disagree with him. But trying to deprive somebody of their rights is not patriotic, and it's not, the quote-unquote American thing to do. If you want to look at America as this kind of example of liberty and stuff, which in some ways it is, in many ways it's not. But everyone likes to say, well, this is America, we don't do that here. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, after I guess, I like to look at this and try to figure it out, where it came from, and why are people so attached to the troops. And I think it really does go back to like Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, the war became very unpopular, and some of the atrocities that were being committed kind of surfaced in the media and stuff, and people really like turned against the troops. And it's kind of sad, especially for Vietnam, because all those guys were, not all of them, but a lot of those guys were drafted, right? And so they really didn't have much of a choice. I mean, I guess you could say, no, I'm going to not go, and then go to jail. But a lot of these guys got drafted, and they really didn't have much other choice. And so it was kind of sad to see that these guys got treated like shit when they got home by people who didn't go and have to go fight. But nowadays, we're dealing with somewhat of a different situation where people volunteer for the military. But the troops are like untouchable. And, I know that we've got people that listen to this show that are veterans. Maybe we have active duty listeners.
Yeah, but we don't have a problem with them, Nick. We want them to come home and protect us, not expand the empire.
Exactly, but the military has become like this untouchable topic lately. Where you can't say anything about anybody having to do with the military without someone accusing you of being unpatriotic or anti-American, right? And we get accused of it all the time on our Facebook page. People are like, well, you guys just hate America and stuff. It's like, actually, no, it's the opposite. We're trying to correct this path that we're on, which is pretty nasty. We're in a path of an empire, and we're going around doing really horrible things around the world. By us criticizing it, we're actually trying to do this country a favor.
I mean, we're going to get hit with blowback, and one day it's going to be catastrophic. That's what they have cooking for us. I mean, I put on a thing I posted on Facebook today that this whole crap with the EMP bomb is going to end up being like the Pearl Harbor. They're just going to let one drop because they want the chaos. You know what I mean? It gives them more power. I mean, if we go to war with North Korea officially because they EMP a major city, then they're going to, one, Trump's popularity is not going to be a point anymore. Two, the whole nation's going to bind together again under a fake false flag pretense. And it's just getting tiring, man. It really is, and predictable.
Well, you guys know me, and I'm not the type to be jumping to conspiracy theories, but I do think that
But they knew Pearl Harbor was coming, so now that's proven with documentation. If North Korea
supposedly attacked us, I would definitely be the first guy to question the authenticity of those claims, because it doesn't make any sense for North Korea to attack the United States. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and even if they did, they'd just let it in. They'd go, "Oh, our missile defense system didn't get it. Whoops."
Yeah. So, I think after Vietnam, after seeing all the blowback from the war, the people have kind of changed up their propaganda, and they've kind of ingrained militaristic patriotism into like American culture now. So it's very, very hard to criticize the military, what the military does. And like you said, DB, is I don't got beef with the individual troops, and then I'm sure there's a bunch of good people out there that are in the military that joined up for noble reasons. I'm sure that there's a bunch of people, most of them maybe, joined up to defend the United States. I'm sure a lot of them joined up because they were in, dire straits financially, and they were just looking for, a decent, steady job, make good money, maybe get themselves into college or whatever. Plenty of reasons. I don't think guys get into the army to go and say, oh, we're going to go protect opium fields in Afghanistan for, the CIA. I really doubt that anybody joins up to do that and say, oh, yeah, I want to be a drone pilot that kills innocent families in Yemen and stuff. Nobody signs up for that shit. They sign up for, normally for noble reasons. Then they get the reality of the situation. And I think that's why there's so many vets that come home and wind up with, becoming suicidal and having all these issues, because I think a lot of them have a lot of guilt. They feel bad for what they've done over there. And, maybe some of them realize that they're fighting unjust wars, and, they didn't know that before they got in, but they got over there and they were like, holy shit, these are just people like us trying to live, and we're kind of in their neighborhood riding Humvees through and MRAPs and shit. And they're like, damn, that's weird, and we don't like that. And they come home and they're kind of like real conflicted about it, and then they see MRAPs rolling down American streets, and these guys are like, what the hell is going on here? Right?
There's a hell of a lot more veterans than police, dude. So all the people have to do is just give the word and stop being brainwashed, and this will stop.
Important note here is that many, many veterans, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos and stuff, many veterans are taking Kaepernick's side, or the protesters' side on this national anthem issue. Because I think a lot of these guys see the same thing we're seeing. Just like
because they have a heart, Nick? Because they have a heart? Because they're a human being, they have a heart?
Yeah, and they're seeing this scenario that I just mentioned where they come back from Iraq and they're like, okay, that kind of wasn't good what we did over there. We shouldn't have been going and patrolling those neighborhoods with just normal people who are trying to live their lives. And they get here and they're like, holy shit, they're doing it at home now. And these guys are like, wow, dude, they're like upset. You guys remember, during Standing Rock, there was that huge contingent of military veterans that went up there and kind of put a whole stop to the police advancement and stuff. So
wasn't their response to bring like a rocket launcher out or something?
Yeah, there was they claimed it was only for like, they were using it for the logistical use of it, but it was some kind of like anti-aircraft, like it was like a weapon that was attached to the back of this Humvee, and it was like an anti-aircraft thing. The cops claimed that it wasn't going to be used to shoot down any drones or anything, but that it was just for the logistical things that were attached to it. But yeah, still, man, it's still nasty stuff. And that was like a military incursion up there in North Dakota, what happened at Standing Rock. And these veteran guys are tired of putting up with seeing this shit. And I'll tell you what, dude, I think most of them, if not most, a lot of them are actually taking the side of these protesters in the NFL. And they're saying, yeah, you know what, there's something wrong. There's something not going on well with this country. I think a lot of these guys were already demoralized from the war, and then now they're seeing the police state encroaching at home, and they're like, wow, there's something not right. We need to stand up and do something about this. And so, that's that. The people,
because they know we have legitimate enemies, Nick, and if we're fighting each other, we're making ourselves vulnerable. And I mean, empires collapse from within, never from without. I mean, remember that Romans, they didn't fall because the army; they fell because the people basically became the Weimar Republic, like we're becoming, like Germany became, and then fell into totalitarianism. I mean, the people, if they let it fall, we're gonna fall, man. Nobody can beat us. We'll just beat ourselves. Yeah,
and unfortunately, there's a lot of authoritarian leanings going on, and we touched on this last show, but there was some prominent religious leader in the U.S., some Christian dude, was basically saying, you know, if these guys were to do that in North Korea, they'd be shot. You know, and so what was he trying to say? Like, they shouldn't do that.
So go preach over there then, you dick.
I mean, what's he trying to say? We should shoot these guys and be more like North Korea? You know, and this is the funny thing is that, you know, Trump has this huge beef with North Korea. I mean, I think a lot of these guys would actually like that because in North Korea, they got mandatory patriotism. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go out there and literally cry when that fool goes out and speaks, or they might snitch on you and send you off to the work camps. I mean, is that the reality that we want? Do we want mandatory patriotism? Do we want the kids in these schools reciting the Pledge of Allegiance by law? Do we want the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, the national anthem to be, you know, mandatory when you go to ball games and shit? What about when you're in your own home? What about when you're sitting on the couch and the game comes on? Do you have to stand? And if you don't, I mean, what if you got a smart TV and it's looking back at you and it said, oh, this guy didn't stand. Send the cops to his door, take him away. I mean, is that the reality that these crazy lunatics actually want?
And Nick and Jake, I think you can agree that patriotism and nationalism are not the same thing. Patriotism's root word is patriarchal, and you can slash that with white supremacy, although if you really want to be true and accurate, it is class supremacy, because the 1% in the U.S. are ungodly rich. They're so rich that they're affecting you every single day and you don't even know it. That's how rich they are. So that's what it is, man. It's devolved into that. It's like a robber baron era, but no one knows because the entertainment options are so varied and we haven't had starvation yet. But if those two things crack, I mean, things will change in a hurry.
Yeah, dude. And, you know, it really does blow my mind to see so many authoritarians, you know, kind of spouting off this kind of nonsense. And
Nick, the average 1%er in the U.S. right now is worth $27 million. I hope people can kind of fathom that. Like 1 out of 100 people walking out there in the world right now is worth that in the U.S. So when one person in 100 is worth 27 million, that is directly robbing the other 99. There's no ifs, ands, ors about it.
Yeah, the way the financial system is set up, you know, it's a pyramid scheme, and so these guys are jacking us on the daily. Just one final point here before we shift over to some other stuff. I've been seeing more and more people, especially online, that are like okay with crushing dissent as long as it's dissent that they disagree with. And you know, now that Trump's in office, you know, just look back like just a year ago, and there was a bunch of conservatives that were talking smack about Obama and stuff, and the liberals were like, oh, well, you guys are just, you know, you just hate America and you're racist or whatever. And now the liberals are talking smack about Trump, and these guys are like, well, you just hate America and you're just a liberal snowflake or whatever. I think something really dangerous is happening in this country, and it's that people are forgetting why these rights are kind of encoded into the Bill of Rights and all that. It's not because, you know, free speech, you know, freedom of the press isn't out there. The government, I mean, it's not encoded in the Bill of Rights because the government thought that newspapers were going to, you know, be parading the talking points and just be totally, you know, sucking up to the government. I mean, that's what they actually do, but that's not what they thought. You know, that's not why those rights were written in there. They're written in there for unpopular dissent, right? And I'm seeing things lately on both sides of the aisle here, where it's basically as long as it's stuff that you disagree with, then you're okay with using the government's arm, the force of the government, the guns of the government to crush those opinions, to crush those speeches, to crush those, you know, people saying those things or doing those things. And it's the same with, Colin Kaepernick, people are basically saying, well, you shouldn't be able to do that. And then, I've even seen people like trying to say, oh, well, sagging your pants should be illegal. In fact, there was I think there was a city that actually made it a law where if you caught sagging your pants, you can like get arrested for it or get a ticket for it or whatever. So like people are so caught up in this, I don't know what to call it, moralizing, where it's like, oh, well, I'm totally for free speech and all, as long as it's stuff I agree with. And if I don't agree with it, well, it should be banned. It shouldn't be okay. That's not the point. I mean, that's not the reason why, these things are encoded into the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment isn't there so that you could have a pellet gun to fend off squirrels out of your garden. That's not what they were there for. The reason the Second Amendment is there is so that you could stockpile arms if you wanted to, dangerous ones. And the First Amendment is there so that you could have dangerous opinions and you could say dangerous things.
I was just going to say they knew in 76 when they won that it was a perilous win because we had no navy, we had a militia, and if the British came back, which they did in 1812, that we were going to need every single person to be able to at least have the right to bear those arms so that they could resist if the British came with their entire force, which they didn't. So that's what it was about, man. And now that we're infiltrated from within, it's even more important. It's the only reason me and you can even talk on this platform right now.
The Second Amendment protects the First, so they say, right?
Well, what's to stop them from just using the military and police against us? It's that there's 300 million registered firearms, meaning there's at least 1 billion in the U.S. So for every man, woman, and child, there's like 3. I mean, they know if they turn guns on us en masse, they'd be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. They just couldn't win. So, but if they ever convince the people, the idiots in these big liberal cities, to give up the guns, then there's going to be a civil war.
Yeah, and if they could convince these 3%er kind of white nationalists, kind of conservative militia guys that we need to start rounding up certain type of people, well then there would be
that'll never happen, dude. Trust me. The veterans, look at what the veterans are doing. The veterans are normal people. I mean, we know veterans. I know veterans. I know people in the special forces, and they're 100% behind what the will of the people is, the common person, and that is the NFL sucks because it's a huge corporation. Police suck because they're an extension of the Pinkerton Agency, and they're basically slave retention departments. They're not the city watch, and they need to be returned to the original charter. And that's the easy way to do it, man. I just don't know the legal way to do it. These guys aren't going to give up power.
Yeah. The bureaucracy is not going to do away with itself, that's for sure. So, this is going to be an issue that is going to just continue on. We're going to continue having these discussions. I just, unfortunately, I think we're getting to this pretty dangerous point, like I was saying, where it's kind of like, well, free speech is great as long as it's something I agree with. And, I can go and give an extreme example here about me and the whole neo-Nazi rallies that have been going on and stuff. These guys probably would want to kill me for just looking the way I look, right? But do I think that neo-Nazis should be banned by the government? No, because as crazy as those idiots are, they still do have a right to that speech. But at the same time, I don't find it surprising that people are walking around punching people in the face who have swastikas on their arms. And I think that's a totally legitimate reaction to somebody who says that their main ideology is to commit genocide against you. So, it's really important, I think, that we get back to this idea that, free speech isn't only for speech you agree with. It's especially for the speech that you don't agree with. And you have every right to criticize it and be not okay with it, but at the same time, you can't say, well, we should pass a law where everybody has to stand up for the national anthem, everybody has to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, That's going completely in the wrong direction of any semblance of freedom or liberty. People are supposed to have the choice. And like in that Jesse Ventura video about Colin Kaepernick, about patriotism and stuff. Patriotism isn't something that you mandate. If you want to mandate it, you can go to, like I said, go to North Korea, where you got to be patriotic, where they send you to the work camps. You're supposed to earn that kind of stuff. If you want people to be proud of the United States, well, you got to do things that make them proud. Do great things. Don't go around killing people all over the world and then come home and kill people in your own country. That's not how you make people proud. That's not how you make people patriotic or happy to be American, dude. It's kind of hard now, especially with Trump at the helm, to be a U.S. citizen going abroad, and it's like people ask you, "Oh, where are you from?" Now it's like, fuck, kind of put your head down. You're like, "Oh, I'm from the U.S. Yeah, Trump's crazy as hell, but not everybody thinks that way." I mean, that's kind of like the mentality going around now if you leave the country. So, we're going down a dangerous slope, dude, where people, and of course, I'm not only talking about the people on the right here that are trying to mandate the damn national anthem and all that shit. I'm also talking about these extreme, social justice warriors on the left who want to police, thought police and speech police and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm fine with them having their opinions, and if they want to commit actions on their own individually, like the guy that recently knocked out that Nazi, that's fine. But when these guys go to the poll booths and start trying to push their opinions on everybody else, it's a really nasty direction to go in, and we start losing anything left of what makes America a decent place to still be at. When we start giving up those principles, the ones that we're cool with when we agree with them, but we disagree when we don't agree with them, we're going to start sliding down a slippery slope that's going to be really nasty.
It's weird, Nick, because like being in the middle of the country, I'm in a liberal city in a red state, kind of like Austin, Texas. So we're totally down the middle, but I like to say we're purple because we're like blue and a little red, so we're purple, more blue than purple. But anyway, you do get that, man. Like now we're starting to get complaints now where they're like, oh, now it's the extreme left. He's like, we're dealing with all these neo-Nazi stupid assholes, and now we have to deal with the extreme left, like the Lena Dunham celebrity idiots. Like I consistently am hearing that, like, because I'll hang out in bars and with buddies and stuff. And people are not shy here to talk about politics because everybody's basically down the middle leaning to the left. So it's kind of funny. Jake, what do you think in Portland? Are you asleep?
Huh? I'm here.
What do you think about that in Portland? Because are you in a city that's more on the extreme left end now?
Yeah, I mean, Portland is definitely an anti-FA city. But, Portland's a very, very liberal city, and there are more conservative areas around Oregon, same as in Minneapolis. I mean, it's pretty, cities tend to be more liberal, and rural areas tend to be more conservative. But, I definitely think there's a huge potential for things popping off here if, you put another, couple more police murders. There was already some pretty big demonstrations here that featured some people clashing. And, I don't know what the solution is at this point.
The police are really getting heavy-handed, even I know in San Diego, from what I've been hearing from some friends back there, and it just goes to show even the more liberal cities, they're just like trying to crack down, and it's a sign of desperation right before kind of something's about to pop off. Yeah,
dude. I mean, there's no denying that we've entered a stage that's kind of uncharted territory here, and this has kind of been a theme for the last few months, and the decline of the empire. Talked about it last show. These NFL guys, doing what they're doing is a sign of the decline, I think. We're in a real awkward time, where, like I said, people are willing to crush opinions. And there's all this crap going on at the colleges where these controversial speakers come. And the thing is colleges, the ones that are, especially the ones that are publicly funded, they have an obligation to, give a platform to anybody, who is putting out basically nonviolent speech. So anybody can go to a college that's publicly funded and say, hey, I'm a neo-Nazi, give me a stage where I can give a speech. And these colleges basically have to oblige them. And so, of course, it triggers a reaction with the people who are like at the school. They're like, we're not going to stand for this shit. And, it causes these big riots like we've seen at, Berkeley, and we've seen in Portland. And Charlottesville, which wasn't a college, but you guys get the point. Now the problem is, I'm okay with these clashes because it's people against people. It's not really so much the government going in and saying, oh well, we're not going to allow you guys to give this speech, and we're going to beat the shit out of anybody that tries to give a speech here. That's not really what's happening. I mean, the cops are being heavy-handed when the protests get a little out of hand or whatever. I know it's pretty polarizing and divisive, but I'm okay with these guys going out and teeing off on each other. I don't think it's the most productive thing to do. But if they want to settle scores, if they want to have their debates with fists and all that stuff, I'm okay with it, And if you don't think you want to get hurt, well, don't show up to these things because they could quickly turn violent. Now the problem is, of course, with the government, there's going to be all this problem, reaction, solution. So there's going to be politicians, do good, well-meaning politicians are going to come along in a few years and they're going to say, well, these clashes have been escalating for 2 years. Something must be done. So here's a bill that is bipartisan that's going to basically clamp down on, this type of speech and that type of speech and these type of groups. And we're going to classify these type of people as gangs. And, we've seen, there was just, a march in D.C., a week or two ago, of the Juggalos, the insane clown posse following, who the FBI has labeled them a gang. And I don't know if you guys have looked into that, but it's actually pretty bad, dude. It's pretty bad what they've done to the Juggalos. I mean, these guys, a lot of them get arrested. They can't get normal jobs. Being part of a gang removes a lot of privileges from you, from society, dude. And so,
But what's their crime, though? Are they doing anything illegal?
Well, I mean, they claim that some of these guys are involved in drug dealing and stuff. But what next?
What kind of drugs, though?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked too far into it. But, I mean, what next? Are they going to say, oh, Antifa is a gang, or Antifa is a domestic terrorist group? I mean, they're already trying to say that in some circles. Or
they do beat people up, though.
The alt-right is a terror group or whatever. I mean, as much as I disagree with those guys, I don't want to use the arm of the government to put them down, to silence them, put them in jail.
No, they're just a boxing club, Nick.
Yeah, and I mean, unless they hurt somebody, then yeah, dude, they deserve to be punished. But, saying...
They need to be sanctioned and licensed, though, by the athletic departments of each state.
Yeah, dude, and, look... we found out during the civil rights legislative era, which was signed into law by LBJ, one of the biggest douchebag presidents ever. The government is not good at legislating racism. You can't just write a law and sign off on it and say, okay, racism is done. That's not how it happens. And so therefore the government also should not be involved in saying, okay, well, we're going to stop these racists from saying these bad things, or we're going to stop Antifa from confronting these racists for saying bad things. These issues they actually do need to be sorted out in the streets, and I hate to see my, fellow people fighting it out, duking it out, who really are disagreeing over, really are just, a lot of these guys are just misinformed, or they're just angry or whatever they're doing out there. I hate to see them beating each other up like that, but these ideas need to be sorted out, and we need to get through a lot of this pent-up anger that's still left over from all these years of horrible shit this country has done to people, dude. Like, racism was around slavery was around in the U.S. for a very, very, very long time, and segregation only got repealed like 50 years ago. So
You know, the most messed up stuff is people are pepper spraying using weapons, and then people are getting punched and falling onto concrete and getting brain damage. So I don't know if the solutions of some kind of big brawl where everyone comes with boxing gloves and headgear on, and the cops just sit and wait for people to get knocked out and pull them out of the scrum. I mean, because these things are starting to get into the hundreds, and the cops just sit it out, and they're just sitting there watching it.
yeah, dude, and sooner or later, I mean, these guys on both sides are going to start showing up. I mean, they already are showing up with guns, but they're going to start showing up ready to shoot people.
It's only a matter of time. I give it a 0% chance that in the next 5 years there's not some major race skirmish.
There was already, I mean, there was already somebody that got run over. I mean, dude, it's too tempting for people that are on the verge of their life collapsing because maybe they lost their job and they're living in their car and they're like, fuck these protesters. Dude, it's just something's going to pop it off.
Yeah, it's a real shame that people are unable to see, who's really at fault, and there's no single person or single group at fault, but there's it's certainly not racial integration that has caused anyone to lose their job. And I don't know. You're right, though. I mean, there's no law that can be passed that's going to stop people from being racist.
But, I have to say that the silver lining is they're being exposed. They're losing jobs. They're being alienated from their families, and maybe they'll take steps to get over it. I just saw a story, and maybe it's a convoluted fake one, but a guy that was in jail with, the whole white supremacist tattoo thing going, and maybe he did what he did to not be the bottom man in jail. I have no idea, but his probation officer is a black woman, and now they're friends, and he got the tattoos removed. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's going viral, but, I mean, people can change. It's rare, but there's the potential for it, and that's kind of why you don't want to just say kill all racists, but definitely you can punch a racist in the face. It might make him wake up.
Yeah, dude. I kind of think a lot of this has to do with communication problems, and
make a friend that's a different race, and you won't be racist anymore. I can almost promise you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this does boil down to communication issues, and people get caught up in echo chambers, and a racist echo chamber can exist in a bubble until somebody pops the bubble, and then these ideas and these people are confronted, and then they could get these ideas off their chests, and then they could be sorted out. I mean, I think there's hope for racists. I don't like racists at all. I mean, racists hate me because I'm not, 100% white. But, I don't think they need to die. I think they can be reformed. I think they can be brought back from this ledge of hate through, better communication and
Could you imagine what an idiot like Cantwell could do if he would just reform his stupid thinking? Because he could actually be eloquent sometimes.
That guy. Now that
he
guy
may be a lost cause, but I'm trying to use an extreme.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe someone more like Molyneux or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, just if you drop the notion that we're different. We're not different enough to make it a thing. We are different. Yes, certain races of people and our genotypes make us more susceptible to different diseases. Yes, maybe from different parts of the world you have different physical characteristics, but we're all sharing so much more that's more important that we're all basically the same where it's important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're different enough to enjoy our differences and embrace them and be amazed by these differences that we all have. We're not different enough to hate people just because they're different. I mean, that's just crazy. I don't hate any. The only people I hate are people I met and I know they're assholes. Or people who I already know enough about that they're assholes. I mean,
give an asshole a chance to be an asshole first, though.
Yeah, I mean, just to hate somebody for looking different is just the most rudimentary thing, and it's so poorly, thought out that I think people that have those kind of thoughts with a little bit of education and enlightenment, they would be able to abandon those thoughts. I mean, sure, they may still have prejudices and stuff, but, they wouldn't be like straight up, overtly racist or even covertly racist, with the right communications. There was that dude. Did you guys see that video about that black dude? He was like a musician, and he actually like befriended a bunch of dudes in the KKK and pulled like he takes credit for pulling like several hundred dudes out of the KKK. Because he took on a whole different way of communicating with them and stuff. And of course, there's all kinds of different ways that we can go about this stuff. And again, a lot of these issues are based on a bunch of old leftover pain and hate from a long time ago that if we keep on pretending they don't exist, well, they're never going to get resolved. And that's kind of why this thing is kind of a good thing in a way, that all these things are happening and they're becoming more public and they're actually clashing in the streets, and that these conversations that we're having right now are being had. Because if we don't have these, well, then all those things are going to keep festering, and they're going to stay in their echo chamber, and they're going to keep on thinking dumb things, and they're never going to snap out of it. As messed up as it is, as divisive as the conversation is in this country right now, and the things going on, it's needed.
Nick, it's one thing I remember taking a history class when we did the civil rights era, and one of the most, touching stories was this guy in the KKK got the crap beat out of him, and then a black surgeon and all black hospital crew, black nurses, everything saved his life. And then, so of course, after that, he couldn't be in the KKK anymore. And he described how he had like a born again moment when he realized he was basically in a black run hospital because they were in the inner city of, I think it was either Baltimore or Chicago, and they saved his life. And he's like, dude, I can't hate people anymore based on what they look like, because everybody that looked like the people I was supposed to hate saved me. I was like, dude, something as simple as that, even though it is, of course, life altering, that's what it takes, dude. Or like we've been saying, making friends, or just getting to know people, like people as individuals. Obviously where you grow up and the culture you grow up in affects everything, but people are individuals. Seriously, just go to different countries and you'll see that.
I think your original suggestion is that we should beat the hell out of every alt-right person and then have them wake up in a black-run hospital.
Well, I mean, but I have to say I'm equal opportunity. I see a lot of racism from all people, and they all need to get punched in the fucking face. I'm sorry.
I don't know if that's a feasible solution, but it seems like it'd be effective on a small scale. All right, so
maybe I didn't even punch myself in the face. You know what I mean?
The elephant in the room of the United States right now, or off the coast, I guess you could say, is Puerto Rico, dude. Have you guys seen these before and after maps? I mean, of the electrical, their lighting.
They're completely screwed right now.
Do you know this is the first hurricane that's led to desertification of an island of this size?
Yeah, dude. Like the whole. All right, so look, we've talked about it on this show for a long time. Being self-reliant, decentralization, all that good stuff. Taking care of our own electricity, our own food. Those things are great things to do, and they'll give you more independence. They'll give you more freedom, more of a hedge against uncertainty and all that good stuff, right? Now, in Puerto Rico, I'm sure being prepared would help, but I mean, if you had your own garden in Puerto Rico, guess what? It's gone. Like the hurricane wiped it away. If you had your own water system, it's probably tainted now. If you had solar panels, there's a good chance they got blown away. So, I mean, the situation in Puerto Rico, and we're talking about people who are like prepared. Most people aren't prepared. The drinking water is tainted. The electricity is down for the foreseeable future. The crops have been like, if you look at like you said, DB, the island has almost been turned into a desert. It's pretty, as far as I know, Puerto Rico is pretty tropical, right? It's been kind of wiped into a desert, dude. Like the hurricane was so strong that it took off the the topsoil, and it took off a lot of the the greenery and the shrubs and the plants, the trees and shit. Puerto Rico is in a horrific state, dude. And I got a few friends that are working closely and bringing relief. Make sure if anyone listening that wants to help out Puerto Rico, check out an organization called We Do Better. They're people directly, who work with us, and we know what they're doing. We know they're doing a great job. Right now they're in Miami. They've got a huge warehouse. They've coordinated a bunch of nonprofit groups and individuals' donations, and they've got huge warehouse with pallets and pallets and pallets of relief aid that is ready to go to Puerto Rico. But guess what? FEMA isn't letting them go in. So basically what we're seeing right now, not only is Puerto Rico completely fucked, but the U.S. government is kind of sealing them off and not letting any aid in. I mean, hopefully that changes hopefully tomorrow. I'm waiting for an update right now, but hopefully by tomorrow the FEMA says, okay, we can start letting this stuff in. But it's probably one of the biggest tragedies that is ever going to unfold in the United States is what's going on right now in Puerto Rico, and it literally barely anyone's even mentioning it.
They monopolize these natural disasters. These are business opportunities for the U.S. government and its contractors.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was just hearing that a bunch of people who depend on a bunch of diabetics who depend on dialysis just died yesterday in Puerto Rico because the hospital's generators ran out of fuel. People that are going in there to rescue people are running out of gas and they're getting stuck. The rescuers are now needing to be rescued. And, Trump gave a speech and he's like, oh yeah, there's a big ocean in between us and them, as if that's ever prevented a war that we've gone on around on the other side of the world or whatever. But these politicians aren't going to really be doing anything here. Nobody really gives a shit about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is basically, didn't they just file for bankruptcy a month ago or something, 2 months ago?
The thing that sucks is they should just be Hawaii East. So why don't people just treat them that way? And I understand they want to continue to be independent. But I mean, honestly, if the mindset was they were Hawaii East, then I think they would be rebuilt in a quickness.
Most Americans don't even realize that Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. And so people are just, oh, they're Puerto Rican. They pretty much are. Basically, what's happening right now is basically people are treating Puerto Rico like it's another country. And since people don't really give, Americans don't really give two shits about anybody from other racial groups or from other countries, it's kind of just like, oh, well, that's sad. It's like, dude, if that was LA or if that was New York City, shit would be happening. People would it would be a huge deal. I mean, look what happened in Houston. I mean, huge mobilization. Dude, this may permanently. This is going to permanently alter Puerto Rico, dude. Hopefully they can grow stuff back. Hopefully all the topsoil wasn't washed away. I mean, it's bad. Look at the satellite imagery. It's really bad. If you look at nighttime and you see how many lights are on now, it's really, really bad compared to before the hurricane. It's most people don't have lights. Most people don't have electricity. Most people don't. If they had food growing, it got wiped away. If they had farm animals, there's a chance they died. Everything depends on imports. We got to start importing stuff into Puerto Rico to save these people's lives. And instead of the government saying, you know what, open the ports up, let everybody in that can come in, they're saying, no, we're not going to let nobody in. FEMA's blocking aid from entering into this place. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Hey, Nick, these are the people where they can use this, these hundreds of cruise ships that are about to start docking in Florida because the season's about to basically start slowing down. Just go back and forth from San Juan to Miami, back and forth, and just cram people in because they can get there in a day and back. I mean, we can get things done if we're just creative enough and get cut through red tape. And that would be a huge PR win for these cruise lines. I mean, they would see a windfall in business they could never get.
Yeah, and so, I guess Puerto Rico the population has been shrinking over the years. A lot of young people have come to the mainland to look for, greener pastures or whatever. A lot of Puerto Rico, and, we've been doing some research on this because we've been looking into the whole debt crisis and things they're dealing with. Puerto Rico, I guess you would call it like a pensioner. It's like a pensioner territory where most of the people that live there are like older people now at this point, and they're a lot of them are depending on fixed income. And so there's not a lot of the young people, a lot of the millennials have immigrated probably to Florida and elsewhere in the U.S. To look for better jobs and stuff because the economy in Puerto Rico is pretty bad. And all that has done is basically exacerbated a lot of the financial crisis going on there. I mean, they got a bunch of people on pension, a bunch of people on fixed income, and all those pensions and stuff are going bankrupt. So, I mean, we're talking about a catastrophe there that we haven't seen in the U.S. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this before, where we're dealing with a complete financial disaster and a natural disaster and a demographic disaster. I mean, there's no young people there to pay taxes, to work, to rebuild the infrastructure. There isn't. So what's going to happen there?
We got to get them out of there.
It's going to be ugly, dude. Like, are we going to have to abandon Puerto Rico? Are people going to have to leave the island? I mean, what's going to happen?
As I speak, an article from Fox coming out about Royal Caribbean sends cruise ship to help evacuate people. So I don't know if I'm prophetic or what the hell, but anyway, that's what's going on, man. We just got to cut through red tape, get the people to the mainland, save their lives, and if they can go back someday when it's rebuilt, cool. If not, they're Puerto Ricans. They're going to mesh right into our country, no problem, and they're going to get going, man. They'll help. They're actually going to give us a boost. So it sucks they have to leave their homeland. It does suck, I know. But, I mean, we'll absorb them and help them and support them, and they can go back when we rebuild it.
Hopefully.
Well, we need to put pressure on government to make that happen, dude.
We're going to build a wall around Florida now so the Puerto Ricans can't get in.
Yeah, fuck that wall now. Hey, take the money for that wall and bring those people over.
Seriously, dude, take the
idiot
and go be
idiot.
Build Puerto Rico. Seriously. And you know what? They started building that wall today. No, yesterday. No, Monday. What was it? No, sorry. Jake, it was the day you were here on Tuesday, right? Tuesday morning. They started putting up the prototypes for that damn wall down here in San Diego. And some construction worker fell down a 40-foot ditch and got hurt already today. So they're already building that damn wall, the prototypes for the wall, dude. And yeah, if we're gonna spend it on something, there you go. You got something that maybe should be. If you got money laying around for a damn wall, maybe you should use it for Puerto Rico.
Dude, we can use.
They're just gonna be retrofitting it to make it seem like they're working on it. They don't have the money to build that damn wall.
Yeah, true.
Sure, you're right.
Yeah, so
you realize how much money it would cost to make that wall the way he wants it to look. There's no way in hell Congress is going to approve that funding.
Gold plated with the stucco and marble and all that, Trump. And his taste is so goddamn bad, dude. The gold. You guys ever seen his hotels and shit? Ugly as hell.
Yeah, they're like Biff from Back to the Future 2. It's like that's exactly what everything about him is. What it's. Sometimes I think about him having sex and it just messes my head up. I can't stop it. I can't help myself.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
He's such a conqueror. I can't.
He takes his toupee off, so it's even better.
Yeah, what a way to end the show.
Tuning in Anti-Media Radio.
On my clock, like I told you, I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing, but call it a reality, cause there's no illusion.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.